The human walked slowly through the long golden hall of the alien palace, his footsteps echoing in the silence. The walls glowed with strange green crystals, and tall alien guards stood on both sides, their armor shining like molten silver. He felt their eyes on him, cold and sharp, as if measuring his worth. He had been summoned here without warning. A message came to his ship, short and direct. The king demands your presence. He did not know the reason. He only knew that disobeying an alien king meant death. The palace itself was breathtaking. The ceilings stretched higher than any human building he had ever seen, painted with glowing constellations that moved slowly as if alive. Giant pillars rose like trees, carved with alien runes that pulsed with light. The air was heavy with the scent of burning incense, a smell both sweet and strange. At the far end of the hall, a throne stood on a platform of white stone, but the throne was empty. Instead, two figures stepped forward from behind the shadows. They were unlike anything he had ever seen. Two alien princesses, young and beautiful. Their silver hair fell in waves across their shoulders, and their skin glowed faintly as if kissed by starlight. Their golden crowns sparkled with emeralds that seemed alive. Their dresses shimmered between silk and armor, both delicate and powerful. The human froze. His heart pounded. He expected a royal welcome or a trial, but not this. The taller princess looked at him with piercing eyes, and her voice rang across the hall. "Human," she declared, her tone both royal and fierce. "You must marry me and my sister, or face the wrath of our father, the king." The words cut through him like a blade. For a moment, he thought he had heard wrong. Marry them? Both of them? His mind raced. Was this a test, a trap, or a cruel joke? The second princess stepped forward. Her voice was softer, but her eyes carried fear. "Do not think you can refuse. Our father does not give choices. He gives commands. If you deny us, he will take your life, and perhaps even wage war on your people." The human's throat went dry. He looked around the hall, searching for some sign of escape, but the guards stood like statues, and every path was blocked. The weight of the situation pressed on him. He was not just a man now. He was humanity itself in this hall. His answer would not only decide his fate, but could also bring war to Earth. The taller princess watched him closely. "We know you are afraid," she said. "But you must understand, this is not only about marriage. This is about survival. If you accept, you will live. If you refuse, you will face the king's anger." Her words carried a strange mixture of command and desperation. It was as if she herself feared what would happen next. The human tried to steady his breath. His mind flashed with images, his people, his world, the stars beyond. Was he ready to bind himself to alien royalty just to save himself? Or was there something more behind their demand? The hall grew colder. The silence was thick. Every eye was on him. Waiting, the two princesses stood side by side, beautiful, powerful, and dangerous. They had given him an ultimatum that no human had ever faced before. For the first time, he realized this was not simply about marriage. It was about power. The throne behind them stood empty. The king had not yet appeared. Why then did the princesses give the command in his name? The human's eyes narrowed. He saw a flicker of fear in the younger sister's face, a tiny tremble in her hand. They were hiding something. The tension grew heavier. The guards shifted slightly, their weapons glinting in the green light. The princesses waited. The hall seemed to hold its breath. The human finally spoke, his voice low but steady. "Why me?" The taller princess's eyes sharpened, but she did not answer. The younger sister looked down, her lips pressed tight, as if she carried a secret too dangerous to speak. The silence after his question was louder than any scream. In that moment, the human understood one thing. Whatever game this was, whatever demand had been placed upon him, this was only the beginning. The choice before him was impossible. Marry two alien princesses he had never known, or face the wrath of an alien king whose shadow loomed over the galaxy. And as the torches along the walls flickered, the great doors behind the throne began to open, and a deep rumble filled the hall. The alien king was coming. The great doors closed with a thunderous echo, and the human found himself still standing before the two alien princesses. Their eyes followed him like twin flames, one burning bright with command, the other flickering with quiet fear. No answer had yet been given, And still, their words rang in his head, marry us both, or face the wrath of the king. But instead of pressing him again, the taller princess did something unexpected. She dismissed the guards with a wave of her hand. The soldiers hesitated, then slowly withdrew, their heavy boots fading into silence until only the human and the princesses remained. The hall felt emptier now, yet heavier with tension. The younger sister stepped closer, her silver hair brushing against her jeweled armor. She lowered her voice so only he could hear. "You wonder why it must be you," she said. "We will tell you, but you must promise to listen carefully." The human nodded, though his pulse raced like thunder in his veins. The taller princess's tone softened, though her eyes were still sharp. "Our father is not only a king, he is a tyrant. He forced us into this demand, but he does not know the truth. This choice is not about his power, it is about ours." The human blinked. "Yours?" The younger sister's voice trembled as she explained, "Only a human can stand against him. The old prophecies speak of it. A union with a human binds power strong enough to challenge the throne. That is why he demands this marriage. He wants to control the prophecy for himself. If we resist, he destroys us." The words struck him like lightning. It was no longer about marriage for peace. It was about survival, about destiny. The human's breath grew shallow. He was being asked to become a weapon, a shield, a symbol in an alien war he did not understand. The taller sister stepped closer, her eyes gleaming. "We are not asking you to love us. We are asking you to choose life, for yourself and perhaps for us. If you refuse, the king will destroy you. If you accept, you may save more than just your own world." The hall grew colder, the glowing runes along the walls dimmed, and the silence pressed heavy on his shoulders. The human looked at them both, one strong yet desperate, the other trembling yet hopeful. For the first time, he saw them not only as princesses, but as prisoners in their father's cage. His heart wrestled with fear, but also with something else. Responsibility. Humanity had always fought against chains, always stood tall against impossible odds, and now here he was, asked to carry that same fire into an alien throne room. The younger sister leaned closer, her voice almost a whisper. "Do not decide now. The king will soon arrive. Speak carefully. Watch his eyes. Remember, he does not want a son-in-law. He wants a weapon he can control." The great silence shattered as a low rumble returned. The sound of boots and the clash of armor echoed once more. The guards were returning, and with them, a shadow far darker than before. The human's heart pounded. He now knew the truth. This ultimatum was more than life or death. It was the start of a storm that could shake the galaxy itself. And as the heavy throne creaked under the weight of a figure unseen, the alien king's presence filled the air like thunderclouds before lightning. The real trial was about to begin. The alien king's heavy presence still filled the palace hall, yet the human noticed something strange. The princesses, who only moments before had seemed frightened, now exchanged a glance filled with silent words. It was not fear that glimmered in their eyes, but something far more dangerous: secrets. That night, long after the throne room emptied and the guards led him to a chamber of stone and crystal, the human lay awake. His thoughts twisted like storm clouds. The demand of marriage haunted him. The threat of war pressed on him. But most of all, the look in the younger sister's eyes stayed with him. It was a plea, a hidden call for help. He did not sleep long. A quiet knock on the door stirred him. When he opened it, both princesses stood there, cloaked in shadows, their crowns gone, their royal gowns replaced with simple dark robes. "Come," the taller one whispered. "We have little time." They led him through narrow halls behind the palace walls, corridors unlit, carved like tunnels in stone. Strange glowing insects lit their way, and the human realized this was no royal walk. This was rebellion. Finally, they reached a hidden chamber deep underground. Inside were symbols carved on the walls, old, powerful, and glowing faintly like stars. The air felt alive with forgotten energy. The younger sister turned to him, her voice low. "You must understand the truth, human. The marriage is not our wish. It is the king's plan to chain the prophecy. But we—" She paused, her eyes shining. "We want to break it." The human frowned. "Break it? Why me?" The older sister's voice hardened. "Because you are not one of us. and only a human can unlock what he fears most. The prophecy speaks of a stranger, one who comes from beyond the stars, who binds the royal blood to freedom. That stranger is you. His chest tightened. His mind rejected it. He was just one man, not a savior, not a legend. Yet the fire in their voices told him this was no lie. The younger sister stepped closer, her hand trembling as she touched one of the glowing runes. If you agree to marry us, it will not only bind you to the throne, it will awaken the hidden power of the bloodline. With you, we can rise against our father. Without you, we remain slaves to his will. The human's heart thundered. He saw the truth laid bare. Their beauty, their demand, their ultimatum. It was not desire. It was desperation. They were daughters of a tyrant, trapped between loyalty and rebellion. But then another thought struck him. If the king knows this prophecy, why risk it? Why not destroy me now? The older sister's eyes darkened. Because he cannot. The laws of the ancients forbid him. He must bind you by choice. He must turn the prophecy to his side. If you refuse, he will kill you. But if you accept on his terms, he wins. The chamber shook slightly, as if the palace itself listened. The human felt the weight of destiny crushing down on him. For a moment, he almost spoke, almost agreed. But the younger sister grabbed his arm. Her eyes burned with desperate fire. Do not give him your vow before all. Promise nothing. Speak carefully. If you agree in his hall, he wins. But if you stand with us in secret, we may yet turn the prophecy to freedom. The human stared at them both, torn between terror and awe. They were asking him not just to marry, but to conspire against their own father, the king of an empire. The silence stretched, broken only by the hum of the glowing runes. Finally, the human whispered back, "Then you are not offering me a choice between marriage or death. You are offering me a choice between chains and war." The taller princess nodded. "Yes, human, and soon the galaxy itself will know which choice you make." The next day, the throne room was filled with firelight and whispers. Hundreds of alien nobles crowded the golden hall, their jeweled eyes fixed on the human who now stood before the empty throne. The air was heavy, not with silence, but with expectation. Then the great doors opened, and the alien king entered. His presence was a storm. His body was massive, clad in armor of black stone and glowing red lines that pulsed like veins of lava. His crown was not delicate like his daughter's, but sharp, jagged, as if forged from the bones of worlds. His voice rumbled like thunder shaking the palace walls. "Human," he growled, each word like a hammer. "You have been summoned before my throne to accept the honor I grant you. You will marry my daughters, bind your weak bloodline to my royal line, and in return, your kind will live. Refuse, and I will grind your planet into dust." The nobles gasped in awe, some clapping their hands against their chests in support, others lowering their heads in fear. The human felt every eye upon him. His heart raced, but he remembered the words of the princesses whispered in the hidden chamber. Do not give him your vow before all. The king leaned forward, his burning eyes like fire. "Speak, human, will you obey your king?" For a moment, the human stood silent. His mind raced. He knew one wrong word would mean death, but one weak word would mean chains. Then, unexpectedly, the younger princess spoke, stepping forward before her father. Her voice trembled, but her words were sharp. "Father, must we force him? Does honor mean nothing if it is stolen?" The hall erupted in whispers. The king's eyes narrowed in rage. His hand twitched toward the weapon at his side. The nobles looked back and forth, unsure if they had just witnessed courage or treason. The older princess quickly stepped beside her sister. "She only speaks truth. Father, if the human vows under fear, what strength is there in such a bond?" The king roared, the sound shaking the pillars. His fury rolled across the hall like a storm. "Silence! You dare question me before my court? You forget your place, daughters." His anger was not only at them, but at the human as well. The hall seemed to close in, the weight of his wrath pressing on every soul present. But then something strange happened. The glowing runes carved on the throne's platform flickered. The light bent toward the human, faint but visible. A ripple of energy passed through the hall, and many nobles gasped. Some bowed quickly, whispering the old words of prophecy. The king's face darkened. He had seen it too. The throne itself seemed to recognize the stranger. The human felt it, power humming in his chest. Not his own, but something ancient. The king's fury now turned into fear hidden behind rage. With a thunderous voice the king shouted, "This is trickery. The prophecy is nothing. He is nothing. Guards, kneel him, chain him, break him before all." The guards moved, their weapons raised, but the nobles hesitated. The glow of the runes had shaken their faith. The humans saw doubt spreading like cracks in glass. The king's control was not as absolute as it seemed. The younger princess stepped forward, her voice clear and defiant. "You cannot break him. Father, the throne has already spoken." The hall fell into silence. The human realized the truth. This was not just a demand for marriage. It was a battle for power before the eyes of an entire kingdom, and for the first time, the alien king knew he was losing ground. The guards closed in, their weapons glowing with deadly fire. The alien king's roar echoed like thunder, shaking the pillars of the throne room. "Seize him, chain the human, and let all worlds see his weakness." But the human did not move. He stood tall, his eyes calm though his heart thundered in his chest. He could feel the runes under his feet glowing stronger, humming like an ancient heartbeat. He could feel every noble watching him, waiting for him to kneel or break. Instead, he raised his voice, clear and steady. "No." The word rang across the hall like a blade drawn in silence. The guards froze, their steps faltering. The nobles gasped, whispering to one another. Never before had anyone spoken such defiance before the alien king. The king's eyes burned with rage. "You dare defy me?" The human's voice grew louder, stronger, carried by something beyond himself. "I am not your servant. I am not your slave. I am a human, and humans do not bow to tyrants." The words struck like lightning. The court shivered. The nobles who moments ago bowed their heads now lifted them, their jeweled eyes flickering with something dangerous. Hope. The younger princess's lips parted in awe, her eyes glistening. The older sister's jaw tightened, but a faint smile touched her face. For the first time, someone had spoken aloud the words they had only dreamed in silence. The king roared, his crown shaking with fury. "I will crush your world. I will burn your cities. I will break your bones until even your people forget your name." But the human did not flinch. He stepped forward, his shadow crossing the runes, and the symbols flared brighter, filling the hall with golden light. His voice thundered now, not with volume, but with unshakable truth. "You cannot break me, and if you burn my world, you will awaken billions who will rise against you. Humanity does not bend, humanity does not kneel, and your empire will choke on its own chains." The hall erupted in gasps. Some nobles fell silent in shock. Others whispered furiously. The king's own court had been shaken by a single man's words. The king trembled with fury, but for the first time, there was something else in his eyes. Fear. The power of prophecy was not only in blood, it was in courage, and courage had just spoken before all. The older princess turned, her voice loud and clear as she addressed the court. "You have heard him. You have seen the runes. The throne does not lie. The prophecy lives." The nobles shifted, torn between loyalty and doubt, but none could deny what they had seen. The throne's light, the human's defiance, and the king's trembling rage. The alien king raised his weapon, his voice shaking with wrath. "Enough. If he will not kneel, then he will die by my hand." The guards surged forward, the throne room ready to drown in blood. But the human did not retreat. He clenched his fists, his heart steady. For the first time, he was not just defending himself. He was standing for two worlds, his own and theirs. And as the king's blade of fire came crashing down, the runes beneath the human blazed like the sun. The king's blazing blade came down with a roar, but the runes beneath the human exploded in golden light. A shock wave burst through the hall, throwing guards back like leaves in a storm. The fire blade shattered against the light, sparks flying into the air. The nobles gasped, some stumbling from their seats. The throne itself trembled as if the palace walls had felt the strike. The king snarled, his voice cracking with fury. "Witchcraft. Lies. He is no savior. He is nothing." But the human stood tall, the glow circling him like a shield. His breath was steady now. His fear had turned into resolve. Then the younger princess stepped forward, her hands lifted, and from her palms burst streams of silver energy. It arched like lightning, wrapping around the guards, disarming them without a blade. The nobles gasped again. She had revealed her forbidden gift, power she was never meant to show. The king turned on her. "Traitor! You dare reveal what I forbade." But before he could strike, the older princess raised her own hand. Emerald fire blazed from her crown and eyes, forming a barrier between her father and her sister. Her voice rang clear, strong, unshaken. "We are not your prisoners anymore. Father, we are your daughters, and we will not be your chains." The court fell into chaos. Nobles shouted, some calling for loyalty to the king, others whispering that the prophecy had come true. The guards hesitated, uncertain, for the throne's glow was no longer with the king. It was with the human. The king roared, swinging his massive blade again. But this time the human moved. His hands gripped a fallen guard's weapon, a spear of alien steel. He blocked the strike with all his strength. The clash echoing like thunder, sparks flew, light blazed. The air itself seemed to split. The younger princess cried out, unleashing her power in full. Silver chains of energy wrapped around the king's legs, slowing him. The older princess added her emerald fire, binding him in place. For the first time, the alien king stumbled. The nobles gasped, some rising to their feet in panic, but others bowed low to the human, murmuring words in their alien tongue, words of loyalty, words of surrender. The king's fury shook the hall. "You fools! He is not your savior. He is your doom. Do you think a human can rule you? Do you think he will save you?" But the human's voice cut through the chaos, strong and steady. "I did not come here to rule. I came here to live. But if I must fight tyranny, then I will stand. And if I must marry to bring freedom, then it will be by choice, not by chains." The hall fell silent. Every noble, every guard, every servant held their breath. His words carried the weight of prophecy, but also the fire of truth. The king roared again, breaking the bindings with sheer power, his blade lifted high, glowing red with hatred. But this time, he did not stand against one man. He stood against his daughters, his court, and the prophecy itself. The battle in the throne room was no longer father against daughters, or king against human. It was the empire itself against the shadow of its own fear. And as the flames and light collided, the choice became clear. This was no longer a demand of marriage. This was war. The throne room shook with the clash of fire and light. The alien king's power struck like storms, but the human and the princesses stood together, silver chains and emerald fire binding him again and again. Every time he broke free, the runes beneath the floor blazed brighter, answering not to him, but to the human. The nobles whispered in terror and wonder. Many had believed the king untouchable, yet here he was, slowed, weakened, trembling with rage as his own daughters defied him. Finally, the human stepped forward, his borrowed spear gleaming. He pointed it not to strike, but to challenge. His voice rang clear, steady as stone. "Your reign ends today, king, not because of me alone, but because fear can no longer rule your people." The king roared, lifting his weapon for one final strike. But this time, the nobles themselves rose. Some drew their own blades, not against the human, but against their tyrant. The hall filled with the sound of rebellion. The king looked around, his fury breaking into disbelief. For the first time, he saw what he had never feared before, his people no longer afraid. The human stood firm, the runes beneath him glowing like a rising sun. "You wanted me as a weapon, but I am not your weapon. I am proof that even one voice of defiance can awaken thousands." The king swung his blade down, but the princesses moved as one. Their silver and emerald powers collided, striking their father with a force that shattered his weapon and threw him to his knees. The once mighty king knelt broken before the court, his crown cracked, his empire trembling. Silence filled the throne room. Then, slowly, the nobles began to kneel, not to the king, but to the human. The throne's runes pulsed in golden light, sealing the truth. The older princess lifted her chin, her voice carrying strength. "The throne has chosen. The prophecy is fulfilled. No longer will we be bound by chains." The younger sister's eyes glistened. She turned to the human, her voice soft but sure. The choice is yours. Human, will you stand with us? Will you lead, not as a ruler above us, but as a partner beside us? The human looked at them both, then at the kneeling court. He felt the weight of destiny pressing on him, but he also felt something deeper, freedom, not only for himself, but for them. He lowered the spear, his voice calm. I will not marry because of fear. I will not lead because of chains. If I stand with you, it will be by choice, by respect, and by hope. And if marriage is to bind us, let it be a bond of freedom, not of slavery. The hall erupted in cheers, not of forced obedience, but of new hope. The king was carried away, broken and dethroned. His empire would never be the same. And there, under the golden glow of the runes, the human and the princesses stood side by side, not as prisoners of fate, but as creators of a new one. A new alliance was born, stronger than war, brighter than crowns, forged not by fear but by courage. Humanity's heart had reshaped an empire. And as the stars outside burned brighter, a new destiny began.